President Trump is not the only one with the FBI and the DOJ in his sights if he were to be elected president. Ron DeSantis, as reported by Phil Wegman over at RealClearPolitics.com, Ron DeSantis has been working for months on plans to tear down and rebuild both the Department of Justice and the FBI to develop a day one strategy to end the weaponization of the justice system. Wegman reports the governor, DeSantis, has privately told advisors he will hire and fire plenty of federal personnel, reorganize entire agencies, execute a disciplined and relentless strategy to restore the Justice Department to a mission more in line with what the Founding Fathers envisioned, although they didn't envision anything because the FBI didn't exist, but you get the point. Also, DeSantis' ambitions go beyond just personnel. He wants to physically remove large swaths of the DOJ from D.C., including FBI headquarters. We're not going to let all this power accumulate in Washington. We're going to break up these agencies, said DeSantis. For more on this and other geopolitical matters, our internal security is a national security issue, which is a geopolitical matter. Pleased to be joined by John Bolton, former assistant to President Trump for National Security Affairs, former U.S. ambassador to the UN as well, author of The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. John Bolton, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Oh, glad to be with you.
What about the Republicans, generally speaking, perhaps most notably Trump and then DeSantis, reaction to what we have seen over the last 7 years, say, from the Department of Justice and FBI? Is something like what DeSantis is apparently outlining, is that the order of the day?
Well, I think it's a mistake to think that the entire FBI and Justice Department are politicized. I'm an alumnus of the Justice Department, and I've certainly dealt with the FBI an awful lot over the years on a whole range of international matters. Like every other agency of the federal government, there are people in it who think they walk on water, really have a higher morality. I've seen it in U.S. attorneys. I've seen it in senior FBI officials. And there are some parts of the Justice Department that I think are politicized. But to say that 99% of the FBI is weaponized is just wrong. 99% of the FBI are street agents who are patriotic Americans who do their duty every day and don't get involved in things like the Russia collusion investigation and things like that. I don't have any problem putting more federal agencies outside of Washington, but I would note that the Justice Department has U.S. attorneys' offices in every state of the union.
Right.
Essentially, all criminal litigation done by the Department of Justice is done by U.S. attorneys' offices, not by the criminal division in Washington. And the FBI, I think it's still the case, has a field office in every state in the union. So moving more of the central bureaucracy out, sure, I don't mind that at all. But to say that to act as if the entire FBI, the entire Justice Department are located in Washington now is not accurate. There's a lot to be done to get the federal bureaucracy under control. There's no doubt about it. It needs to be overall dramatically reduced in size and scope, not just justice, but the whole government. So there's a lot of work to do, no doubt about it. But let's not slander the overwhelming number of employees in the Department of Justice, including the FBI, who just do their jobs every day.
You suggested on a recent podcast that any normal person in Trump's position under multiple indictments, including federal, would withdraw from the presidential race. But he's benefiting from the indictments because of what at least the Republican primary electorate thinks about the Department of Justice and the FBI and the Democrat Party and the D.C. establishment, generally speaking. So why should he? It seems to me that should encourage him to stay and prosecute the case against his prosecutors.
Well, normal people would want to spend time on their defense, since he could go to jail for an extended period if a jury convicts him of these allegations. Look, the main criticism Trump and others are making is the double standard criticism.
Yes.
That Hillary Clinton should have been prosecuted, that Joe Biden should be prosecuted, that Mr. Fill-in-the-blank should be prosecuted. And my answer to that is I don't disagree necessarily on any of that. I wrote back in 2016 on Hillary Clinton and the mistakes I thought were being made by the department then. But let's just assume, for purposes of this discussion, that there is a double standard, that Hillary, Biden, fill in the blank, should have been prosecuted. Okay, now we come to Trump. That indictment is devastating. Obviously, the government has to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury, no question there. But if they do it, that what's reflected in the indictment is a course of conduct that's horribly damaging to our national security.
Yeah,
so the argument, let me just finish.
Okay.
The argument that they didn't prosecute Hillary, and that's a double standard, does that mean you personally believe Donald Trump should skip free here?
Well, the Espionage Act, you have to show harm, and who has been harmed?
No, you do not have to show harm. I'll get the Espionage Act here and read it to you.
Yeah,
what he did was mishandle documents that put them in jeopardy. And that is the kind of thing that enhances the risk that our adversaries will be able to get their hands on the documents. That's one of the many allegations in the complaint, and that is sufficient in itself.
I want to get to something else before we have to let you go, because I know we're short on time. Mike Gallagher.
Can I just make one other point?
Oh,
Can I
sure.
just make one other point?
Sure.
Is the answer to the double standard argument that we go to no standard at all? That we don't prosecute anybody when they deserve to be prosecuted? That's just wrong. That's bad for America. And by the way, it ignores the basic Republican lesson that when you don't prosecute criminals, you get more crime.
Well, the double standard is not the only argument that's being made. There's also a Presidential Records Act argument that is being made. There's other legal arguments being made in addition to...
The Presidential Records Act is irrelevant here.
Well,
classified documents cannot be personal. Yeah. Cannot be personal by definition.
Okay, but I'm telling you that there are, and I suspect you're going to see this from his defense counsel. You had the counsel for Judicial Watch, who was the individual who represented Judicial Watch when they sued for Bill Clinton's tapes, make the case that the Presidential Records Act is in fact operable here, based on not operable in the sense that it's not precedent, it's not a Supreme Court ruling. But it is something, and the opinion of Amy Berman Jackson in that case is relevant here to a legal defense. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's arguable. It's being argued.
Let me just read you the Presidential Records Act, which says the president can keep personal records. He can't keep public records. Personal records are defined as documentary materials of a purely private or non-public character, which do not relate to or have an effect upon the carrying out of the constitutional, statutory, or other official duties of the president. That means, by definition, classified documents cannot be personal.
That was not Judge Berman Jackson's interpretation per the holding in the Clinton Sockdorf case. It was not.
You're wrong on that. Let me just read to you.
I don't have it in front of me, but I can quote her because we've been talking about this for 4 days now since he's been indicted. Yeah. But in addition to that, there are other legal arguments that are going to advance. There's all sorts of them. We don't know the evidentiary support for them, but Kash Patel said he
doesn't know that.
Doesn't know what?
They didn't take that into account, that there are going to be other arguments made.
Well,
they believe.
Well, if we should just take the prosecution at face value, then why have a trial? I mean,
let me ask you. You've read the indictment, I'm sure, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Do you believe if the facts alleged in that indictment can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Donald Trump has committed crimes?
No, I don't. No, I don't. Because...
So I just want to get this straight. You don't think he should be prosecuted because you don't think there's a crime here?
I don't. I think the prosecution is fruit of a poisonous tree, And I think the normative argument that you were making before, that people are making, including me, that the equal application of the law and the failure to have the equal application of the law is problematic.
Here's what my mother told me. Two wrongs don't make a right. Do you believe that?
Yeah. I believe two wrongs don't make a right, Ambassador. But we're talking about a very specific case here at a presidential level that implicates the substantive due process norms of. Well, can I finish now? That implicate the substantive due process norms of a free society. It is much bigger than the black letter law in the Espionage Act or the argument between the Presidential Records Act and the Espionage Act and which is controlling. This is a much bigger issue, and you know that when you're talking about a president of the United States.
I don't know if you've ever held a classified document in your hand or not, but I'll tell you, if I had done what is alleged in the Trump indictment, I'd be in jail already. We have very strict enforcement of the laws against. You
don't have the same powers as a president does, and you know that too.
And he's the leader of the executive branch, so you're saying that he should be held to a lesser standard.
That's not what I'm saying.
His subordinate.
That's not what I'm saying.
Tell that to any corporate official. Sure you are.
No, I'm not.
I'm just telling you, if I had done it or somebody else had done it, that prosecution would have already been over.
Well, what if you did what Hillary Clinton did? Would you
then we're back to arguing the double standard.
Yeah. So she was incorrectly given a pass.
Right.
And that's wrong. Let's just say that. Okay. So now you're saying because she was incorrectly given a pass, we should give a pass to Trump. That's going from a double standard to no standard.
He is John Bolton, former assistant to the president for National Security Advisors, author of The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. Ambassador Bolton, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Glad to be with you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
It seems like everyone is on a complicated diet these days. Gluten-free, keto, metabolic,